That is James Mennie. He is over at the Montreal Gazette. Jim, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Aaron.
So we have our first budget from the new administration. And, of course, I think a lot of people, when you hear that first number, percentage-wise, first of all, the city's going to spend $7.7 billion, Jim? And a lot of people might have been waiting to say, wait a sec, I thought we were going to be spending less. Now, you will know a lot more about this, but my understanding is a lot of this is left over from the previous administration, right?
Yeah.
There are commitments there already, right?
But all that said, there's a bit of three-card Monty going on.
Okay.
But you know what? I just want to get one thing off my
Yes.
chest before we go any further, and it is related to the city budget, because as some of our listeners may have deduced, I always like to listen to the show for a little bit before I come on, if I want to find out whether you bother to show up for work. And the fact of the matter is, I'm listening. I came in, you were interviewing this guy about this project and the Office of Public Consultation.
Yeah.
I'm listening, and I have no idea what you're talking about, bud, okay? And I'm listening for 3 minutes, and I'm like, this is so not going to happen. This project is not going to go forward. And the reason why, and nothing against the guy you were talking to, I have heard this interview 10,000 times from 10,000 hosts, from 10,000 guests. If there's a way to make something more complicated, if there's a way to make something take longer than it should, Montreal will find that way. And the most I can offer to the city of Montreal is the newsflash, perhaps, that the entire planet Earth is done waiting around for the city of Montreal to figure out what it wants to be when it grows up. So we'll see what happens with the Van Horn warehouse, Aaron. But in the meantime, let's talk about the fact that, my God, one of the single biggest expenses on this annual budget is $1.27 billion, which is debt service. That's right. All these great projects. And I'm not just laying this at the feet of Valerie Plante. This spending spree has been going on for decades over at City Hall. They have this ridiculous, we have to at least keep the ratio, 100% debt to revenue. I got to tell you, I don't know if you've had any return from the listeners so far, and I haven't really seen it met. Those are pretty big tax hikes there. Mm-hmm. I mean, I got to tell you, looking at the sort of the big picture, if you will, and I understand things are tough, and I understand as well that the city actually went and tried to make some cuts and reduce spending. I would just hope, and if it was raised today during the press conference, I apologize in advance. The first thing I think the city of Montreal has to do when it comes to having a budget that doesn't give you a stroke is maybe, those 75,000 city employees we have, could you put them to work on examining projects and so on, as opposed to handing out zillions of dollars in contracts to specialized consultant firms? Because that's been going on for way too long. And we, as I just got through telling you, we are paying the price. When 16 cents on every one of the $7 billion is going towards something you can't see. As I say, just to cover the VIG on the loan, there's something seriously wrong with that picture.
Sure.
I also, and the other thing is, and I'm surprised that you didn't sort of lead with that, but our buddy Jason Magder over at the Gazette has a little story saying, well, it doesn't look like the bicycle paths are on death's door. It doesn't look like they're on death row. Although, when you read his story, it almost looks as if they may be, but we're going to wait a little bit. Some projects will be delayed till 2027, which is also an election year. I think to a certain extent they're doing a bit of market research to see just how passionate people actually are about the bicycle paths. Because as I said, that even before the election, if you were basing your electoral choice on that, then God help us all. But the fact is, I think there is an attempt to see, and I hate to put it this way because I'm not trying to suggest that this administration is doing anything untoward, but it's almost checking to see how much they can get away with before people start freaking out. The reception I've heard thus far doesn't seem to be too bad, but once again, it always takes a couple of days for the fallout to accumulate, especially with city finances, because you're getting about 25 phone books full of information, most of which is just going to put you to sleep anyway. So we'll see, but for the time being, for the first budget, although to be fair, I think any mayor of Montreal, no matter how long they've been in office, they're not hands-on with the budget. It's always the bureaucrats. So every mayor's budget is pretty much their first budget, but we'll see what happens. But I guess, higher taxes than I expected. And of course, the amount just keeps going up. And I'm sorry to say, Aaron, and maybe I've missed something, I'm not seeing that 5% increase in terms of services, in terms of, joie de vivre, if you will, in the city of Montreal. It just seems it's costing us through the eyes to maintain the status quo.
Listen, Jim, I'm not sure I fully understand. With respect to the bike paths, I mean, you're talking about there are no marks in this budget with respect to more of them, less of them, going to tear them down? What are you referring to?
Well, what I'm referring to is there is $5.64 million to maintain existing bike paths and to build new ones in this budget. That's $500 million. That's a fair chunk of change. That said, some of the more controversial projects, such as, of course, Camille has been put on hold till 2027. So I suspect they're just going to put everything on the back burner and see just how passionate or not people are, and then they'll just turn around and pull the plug on it. But that said, who knows? I mean, we'll have to wait and see how Montrealers react to this. I really think that most people just want to give this administration a chance after 8 years with Projet Montréal. But on the other hand, you can give someone a chance, but man, oh man, every year it gets more expensive. But
with respect to giving him a chance, we have to remember this administration's been there now for 2 months, basically, right?
Yeah.
How much, and this is how I started the conversation, because I'm trying to understand how this works, right? You don't, over the course of 2 months, create a brand new budget. You have to handle whatever contracts were signed with unions and everything else. I'm curious to see what the difference was between what the last administration had on the book and what this one has added, is what I'm saying. But maybe we don't get to find that out.
Well, that's the kind of question you could ask the mayor the next time she's on the show, because honestly, I mean, to be fair as well, and I understand what you're saying, Aaron, but these are not people who fell off a turnip truck and wound up going to City Hall. You have a federal cabinet minister who's now the mayor of Montreal. Her number one executive committee member is a very reputable businessman who knows how budgets are put together. So I don't think they're exactly flying blind. I really think, though, how can I put this? I don't think they wanted to have a sense of revenge in this budget, saying, "Oh yeah, we'll show you. We're going to cut all these things that the Plante administration wants to do." But for now, and if they end up sort of slowly, when everyone's looking the other way, they take it and crumple it up and put it in the old round filing cabinet. Well, we'll see what happens. Okay. But I just found it interesting that investment remains, the $5.64 million. Remains in the budget as part of its operation.
We'll find out. I think Claude Pinard is on the show tomorrow with Elias, so he'll have some answers to that question. I think we have the Chamber of Commerce on my show tomorrow as well with their reaction to this. So there'll be a lot of questions to be asked. I just feel bad for people out in Saint-Geneviève and Ile-Bizarre who end up getting whacked for the highest tax increase, right?
The other thing, though, that struck me, and I that's as long as you and I have been doing the show, this has always been my main obsession is debt service. But that said, to take the budget to deal with homelessness and raise it from $10 million to $30 million over the space of a year, it shows you how urgent this is. But my problem is that, you can bury the problem with money, but the fact is you've got to address the root causes. And unfortunately, to address those causes, you have to deal with a very, very dysfunctional government that's located up in Quebec City.
All right, let's move on and talk about the Quebec Liberal leadership. So today, I guess we had Liz Prass. I guess she was the first to publicly endorse Charles Milliard. There have been others now since. He's officially, the race is underway. He's officially the guy. You sensing any kind of a change here?
Well, it's going to be. Ask me tomorrow when that nice Mario Roy.
Yeah.
The self-described, I mean, he's also an economist, I think, but he's also a farmer from the Beauce. Whether or not he is going to run for the leadership of the party, apparently he still hasn't cleared his debt. But what I find interesting is I'm getting a feeling there is a real sense of concern on the part of the Liberals' political opponents, very specifically the Parti Québécois, that I think Charles Milliard is the last guy they want to see leading that party. I think he can turn around and really turn a lot of heads smack in the middle of that PQ constituency that's giving them these huge numbers. Don't forget, he is the guy who's going to walk and talk and sound exactly like Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon, except, you know what? No, we're not going to break up the country. We're not going to have we're going to have some economic sense, and we're going to put money in your pocket. So which would you like to do, folks? And he's going to say that en bon Québécois, and he's going to say that from not just from Montreal, but out to Rivière-du-Loup, to all of the regions, and all of a sudden, the Liberal Party, which we haven't seen since basically 2014, a province-wide party, may burst its bounds and no longer be confined to the West Island of Montreal. But we'll wait and see. I hope I'm wrong. But I have a sneaking suspicion that once we sort of how can I put it? Once it's back to school up at the National Assembly there, Bud, I think things are going to get nasty concerning Charles Milliard and the opposition.
All right, well, that'll be fun. At least something will be going on. That'll make a nice change. Jim, I want to get you to weigh in on one thing. This is my question that I'm going to get to in a second. So the STM has decided enough with people just jumping the line here or jumping, the barrier to get on the metro. They're going to put security people in there, not the same ones who are there now to make sure everything is okay. These will be there specifically to check that you have actually paid your fare and not hopping the turnstile. 10 people per station. They kind of have a roving group of inspectors, if I understand this correctly. And then people are saying, and I understand there will always be people on the other side saying it's unfair because some of these people are people who can't afford to pay or they're having emotional issues, etc., and suggesting that it's time that Montreal has an entirely free public transit system. What do you think of that?
Oh, entirely free? No, that'll never happen. We can barely keep this thing above its head above water with what we're paying for it. Although I got to tell you, if I was maybe 20 years younger, I'd be jumping turnstiles as well, given the level of service that the STM is offering commuters now, given the relative reliability, given the just the condition of the station. And honestly, you're checking. You know what? I think a lot. I don't want to sound like a swine here, Aaron. I think a lot of people would be happier to see more cops and security guards in all stations in the network than somebody pulling you aside and asking you if you paid your fare.
So, okay, but there are people...
No, because people are scared.
Sure, and that's part of the issue here. The STM says that's why they're doing this. People are scared because obviously once you jump a turnstile, you could be trying to commit some other kind of crime or whatever. I wonder, though, and at the outset, Jim, it seems like we can't afford to do this. The STM loses money every year. They laid off 300 people. But this would cost the city, or it cost the STM, $1 billion. That's all. You know what we're spending $1 billion on right now?
What's that, Aaron?
The Olympic Stadium roof.
Yeah. I think it would be more than $1 billion, but I think
it will be.
The budget. I think the budget of the STM is $1 billion right now. Right now, so maybe closer to $2 billion. At which point, who's going to pay that bill? Are you going to go around and shake down motorists in the 450 again on their registration fees, so people can ride the metro for free? Is that so we won't have to, oversee the turnstiles at the various stations? I don't think that's an idea that would be very warmly welcomed in our fair city.
Jim Mennie at the Montreal Gazette. Thank you, Jim.
I'm Dylan Playfair.
And I'm Tyler Smith.
We're putting loneliness in the penalty box by talking to some of our favorite athletes about the importance of friendship.
This is Bromance.
Bromance is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, proudly Canadian-owned and operated. Charm has been part of your love stories and bromances for over 50 years.
And you can find Bromance on the iHeartRadio network or wherever you get your podcasts.